I think many of us have seen what has been happening in the city of Cape Town, especially in the Cape Flats area, in Khayelitsha, in Delft, and other areas where the city is in a battle with the taxi industry, taxi organizations that fall under Santaco. And this is an example for me of two things. One, why Rise Mzansi believes that South Africa needs a reset in 2024, and why we say 2024 is our 1994 on the one hand. And secondly, it shows why we need that reset in order to come up with systemic solutions by changing our thinking. So I'm just quickly going to maybe address three things. The first is our understanding of public transport. Taxis are not part of our public transport system. They are not owned by the public. They're owned by private individuals, but they provide a transport service to an underserviced public. I think it's important that we understand and accept that, because it is the duty of the government to ensure the safety of citizens. And the safety of citizens from home to work or to visit a friend, to the doctor, to the hospital, and so on, remains the business of the government. And this situation clearly shows the inadequacies of our public transport system. Now, this is not to say the city of Cape Town does not have a public transport system. It does. In many other places, there is really nothing to speak of. But it's important that we change our thinking in terms of how we understand public transport. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that we need to look at the meaning of systemic problems, because the taxi industry as it exists in South Africa is the outcome of apartheid spatial planning, where black people were made to live far from urban areas, but were ferried every day from their homes in these underserviced areas into the city so that they could offer labor to white people. That pattern still continues today. Although people may be going to work for companies in various forms, the reality is black people still live further away from the city where the economic activity is, compared to South Africans who are not black, white people in particular. So we need to make sure that that system over time changes so that people are able to work within a decent distance from their homes. That makes sure that they are able to look after their children in the morning, see them off to school, go to work, come back, help them with homework, make sure that they are healthy and so on. And when they get into the public transport system, they are not made to feel unsafe. So that is the second thing. The third thing is it offers an insight into what we mean by a new non-racialism. You see, if you want to understand the difference between a racist insult, such as someone using the K word on a black person, and racism itself, it is this system that I've just described, where even though the laws, the apartheid laws, are no longer in place, the outcome of apartheid laws, which were based on racism, is still in place. And it is black people who suffer abuse from that system. They suffer abuse from taxi drivers. They become vulnerable to crime and so on. That's the first thing. The second thing is you also need to consider the taxi system itself and how drivers are remunerated. In many instances, drivers are given a target of how much money they must pull in that day, and therefore they need to do a certain number of trips in order to meet that target. That is why often they drive the way they do. Now, inside the taxi are black people, its parents, its mothers, its children going to school, and so on. And they are vulnerable to the outcome of this systemic problem where a taxi drives on the opposite side of the road because the driver is trying to meet targets. Undoing all of that is not just about putting laws in place. It means we have to try and fix the different aspects of the problem. But the most important thing we've got to do, we've got to change our understanding of the public transport system. And South Africa has a public transport system that is dysfunctional. Each municipality is different. At provincial level, it is not there, and so on, and people are underserviced that way.